Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there. How you doing? I don't even know where to start. This DACA thing has just brought me low, made me miserable, made me think and you saw sort of a spontaneous outpouring of people into the streets yesterday after the announcement. I think we need to get back into the streets. You'll recall, before we were so pummeled on a daily, hourly basis by the doings of this administration, that we had energy and we were in the streets in numbers that sure as heck got a lot of people's attention. And I think we need to be back in the streets. If you don't go to bat for these kids, for these young people, with all their promise, then I don't know. It's that classic German minister's question. Isn't a question, is it? First they came for. Well, you see how this administration just picks groups of marginalized and or people of color off. Racial minorities, Muslims. They're certainly not a minority in the world as a whole, but are a minority in this country. Muslims, transsexuals, immigrants, Hispanics. Who am I forgetting? I mean, Native Americans. It doesn't matter. If you ain't white, male, because God knows they're going after women too. White, male, heterosexuals. This country is not yours anymore. And if I'm really starting to think again that we just need to make ourselves visible and known, that this is getting really serious. I think it is. In some respects, Trump is lucky that this monster storm is coming this way, because obviously, our media and our eyes are on it. Trump, of course, is tweeting, "The biggest hurricane in the Atlantic ever!" Exclamation point. As if, again, he's, there's been 2 of these 500-year hurricanes within a week or 10 days, right, of each other. They're only supposed to happen maybe once every 500 years. We got 2 of them. And this is the administration, too, who's continuing to put in administrative capacities of great power people who deny that we are facing a challenge of cataclysmic proportion, and that is the changing of our climate. And these 2 hurricanes really announced it. I have to tell you, I had a thought. I know it's not very nice, but man, I hope this Irma heads. I hope it's got a bead on Mar-a-Lago. Wouldn't that be like divine? I'm granted there'll be a lot of other innocent people. But collateral damage. Wouldn't it be wondrous if this monster hurricane took out Mar-a-Lago? On the other hand, if it doesn't, but does create havoc, it'll be interesting to see if Trump opens Mar-a-Lago for any displaced people or refugees. It must be horrible to see that thing coming at you and being unsure where it makes its turn. And I can't stop thinking about the people on those islands right now who have no place to go. I mean, you're on an island, a little island. You can't go anywhere. You just have to hunker down. And I had a nightmare last night. It wasn't until I woke up that I realized it was all this. I was wildly trying to pack my possessions. It was just, I mean, there was terror, fear, the unknown, but something approaching. In that regard, again, these hurricanes are almost like metaphors for what unknown future awaits all of us. So I'm in a bit of a mood, I must admit, and forgive me for it. By the way, I always thought, and this comes from my my broadcast beginnings as the weekend weather girl in Madison, Wisconsin television. And I knew nothing about the weather, but after, night after night after night, blabbling about it, it became quite clear to me, as I'm sure it has to you, that weather moves from west to east as the winds blow. It moves from west to east. So if you see something over there in the west, hang on, it's heading your way. So I was looking at Irma. I can't take my eyes off her. And how come she moves in the opposite direction? She started over here in the Atlantic, and she's moving, I guess, sort of northwest, right? And what don't I know about what happens to weather when it's in the Atlantic? I thought it doesn't still. I mean, come on. Even in Africa, in Europe, everywhere on the globe, doesn't everything just sort of go that way? Is there a meteorologist in the in the audience? I don't know. Oh, but I also was thinking, because those pictures of the radar pictures of this monster storm, the eye, and just imagine the power. And as I looked at it, and as I listened to the projections and where it might go and where it could go and who needs to be on alert, I thought, do you know that, I mean, think of all the people that have ever lived on this earth. I mean, from forever, from the beginning. And imagine that it's only been the last, 60, 70 years? I don't know. When did radar and our ability to see all this stuff come? It's only been very, very recently in the scope of human history that humans can watch as something monstrous comes. For most of human history, people would be on those islands having a good time, not having a clue that in 2 days or a day that this monster would be upon them. They'd have no way of knowing it existed. And how lucky we are, again, right, to have these warnings, because 98% of humans who've lived on this globe never had that. But in another way, it's sort of horrific to watch it. Something deadly, something that will kill, that may rob you of all your material possessions, your job, something monstrous this way comes, and you can track it. And there's nothing you can do about it. You just watch it. And you pray that somebody else is going to take the hit and not you. You keep trying to push it one way or the other. That's something that humans haven't been able to do. We live in an extraordinary time in that regard. So even though we have time to prepare, it sure as hell puts us in our place. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We can run. So I'm thinking a lot about that.
Attention everyone, if anyone uses the restrooms and sees the water's coming out very round,
Wait a minute.
we're working on the water.
Hello? Did you hear that? That was Rodney, our receptionist, saying, "Attention, everybody. If anybody is using the restrooms and the water is coming out brown, I can assure you they're working on it," or something to that effect. We got to remember, well, it doesn't matter. Next week at this time, I ain't going to be here. Okay, Milton, you always come to my aid. Milton says, "It's certainly true that, in general, weather systems move from a westerly to an easterly direction in the mid-latitudes. But almost all hurricanes form and initially travel in the subtropics." So they're, okay, south of the equator is where they form, including tropical cyclones, and they move approximately then westward. The northern boundary of the northern hemisphere subtropical zone, okay, this is already getting to, is at latitude 30 degrees, too much for me. As tropical cyclones and hurricanes move westward, they tend to get caught in mid-latitude westerly, the winds coming, and he says southern Georgia is approximately at the latitude where these westerly winds prevail. And so the hurricane pops into them, I guess, after turning north, as this hurricane, I guess, is going to do soon. I don't know. So have you ever had a hurricane that caused a great deal of horror and damage and goes down in history as, you know, a killer, and it bears your name? I suppose that can be difficult. I mean, at the time, I don't imagine it, you know, for all the Sandys who took a hit from Sandy, for all the Harveys. There aren't as many of those, or Irmas. I don't know. It's a strange thing. Okay, well, thank you for that. Quite clearly, my meteorological knowledge is not exactly what one would call expansive. I saw this. I didn't see it in reality. I saw it online. Jimmy Kimmel. I love the line, so I'm going to share it with you. He went after Trump's decision to punt DACA into the totally know-nothing, do-nothing Congress. And Kimmel said this. I think it's because it's so true. He said, it really seems like his main agenda, Trump's, is just to undo everything Obama did. Then he thought about that and he said, geez, I hope he doesn't bring bin Laden back to life. Oh, God. He also pointed out how these DACA young people, through no fault of their own, are the children of immigrants who illegally entered our country. And he pointed out that Donald Trump's 3 eldest children, and actually his youngest as well, are also the spawn of immigrants. Ivana, is that her name? Right. And Melania. Because and there's some question about, I think, Melania's, whether or not she had proper papers. So, just saying, this guy who goes after the children of immigrants is himself the father of children of immigrants. And Kimmel said, it's time to send a signal to Washington. These children are not to blame. He puts up a picture of Eric and Donald Jr. and Ivanka. These children, for instance, can't help that their mother was an Eastern European immigrant. And then a picture of Ivanka. These young people, they work hard. In Ivanka's case, to put shoes on American feet. And then to the boys. And, well, to do whatever these guys do. Tell Congress to protect these immigrants, these children of immigrants, no matter how terrible their parents are. They did nothing wrong. I'm finding it harder to laugh at this topical humor. I am. God forbid, I always worry about, the worst thing that could happen, as far as I'm concerned, is to lose my sense of humor. It's the only thing that gets me through. And yet I have found myself not laughing at Colbert, not laughing at Maher like I may be used to, not laughing. I just look at it in sort of a daze. I don't know. Oh, Milton's back with more. Oh, I don't know if I can handle all that. I'll do it later because I got a feeling Milton, nobody else gives a damn. Denise says, and she's got more for me on, how weather generally moves west to east, but. There's always a but. And Mike says, do you have any video? Oh, God, thank God. Do you have any video or your audition tape from when you were a weather girl? That would be a lot of fun to see. It sure as hell would. Thank God. As far as I know, none exists. I have a few still photos that people watching me on TV for some reason would take pictures of me, of their TV screen, and then they'd send me the pictures. So I have a few pictures of me standing in front of this huge multicolored map. It was about, from east to west coast, probably about 15 feet, I think. It was just this huge thing. And I would traverse it, usually from west to east, because that's where the weather was coming from. And I had long, straight black hair and big hoop earrings, and I look like the hippy dippy weather girl. Thank God there's nothing, because as I said, I knew nothing. So mostly at the beginning, I must have just been horrific. I must have embarrassed myself. Thank God I never had to see it myself. But then as I sort of got into it, and maybe that's where I developed my ability to talk about things I knew nothing of, as if I did know something. It might have started there, BSing about the weather. All I would do is read the National Weather Service's information that came across an old ticker. I would read it and try to get as much of it in my head as I could, and then just spill it out. Nothing, when it was my turn to do the weather, nothing was scripted. Oh, God, it was awful. And I'm sure I've told you the story of how one night in doing the weather, how I sort of lost my mind and ended up altering my career forever. But so, no, it doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. There are some tapes of work I did as a reporter back in the day, but nothing, thank God, on the weather. So as long as do you mind? I just need a respite. I have to tell you something as long as we're being personal. I did something last evening that made me so, I guess, proud. And also that taught me something about myself that I don't know that I knew. And that is that I am somewhat tenacious. And I don't know if I'd ever say I was tenacious. I think I'm sort of it was getting too hard, I quit. But wow, not that you care, but I was doing a jigsaw puzzle on my dining room table. I do it because if and when I'm watching TV, I have a dining room, living room thing, so my dining room table is where my TV is. And if I'm watching TV, I can't just sit and watch. I don't know, how do people just... I can't. It is impossible. It'd be better if I said, well, then why don't you do some sit-ups? Or jog in place while you're watching. No, but I do need something for my head to do. Because I cannot just sit and let whatever's happening there pour into my head. If something is truly compelling, I can stop whatever the secondary thing is I'm doing and then listen, but I just can't sit. So I found that jigsaw puzzles are actually pretty good in that I think one of the parts of my brain that doesn't work very well is spatial. And it's all about spatial or noticing just slight variations in color or shape. And also requires some tactics to do. I mean, assuming you get a difficult enough one, and I think I do. And I was doing one that was a very large jigsaw puzzle of that poster from World War II of Rosie the Riveter. Making a fist, polka dot red, white bandana on her head, and above her it says, what the hell hell does it say? We can do it! Exclamation point. And so, I have to tell you, I started working on that thing like 2 months ago. 2 months! It's taken up half of my dining room table. And many the day that I said, well, this one's it, I can't. I can't even get the damn frame. I can't even, jeez, how am I ever supposed to, all that skin tone? How am I supposed to know? It was too much of the same color and no way to get, and I thought, I can't. I must have said I can't 5,000 times to no one in particular. I guess the cats. And I walk away from it, but all I can tell you is, yes, I got the arms. Yes. And I said to myself, this is like a month ago. And I said, well, I don't think I'll ever be able to really finish it, but wow, I had such satisfaction. I got the arms. And then it came down finally to the background. Oh my God. Anyway, okay, I'll stop. All I can say is, even at the very end, which was 2 days ago, when I finally was nearing the end, but I end up with 8 little pieces. And they ain't the pieces that are going to complete it. I can't figure out how those 8 pieces finishes it out. Oh, after 992 pieces I'd already put down. And as there's fewer and fewer, it just gets easier. Well, that must be, and all of a sudden, bang-o, they don't fit. Well, you know what? You just want to. So I said, okay, I'm beat. But pretty cool. I thought to myself, A-, okay, you didn't get but look what you did. You can still see the whole damn thing. There's just that little thing up there at the top that ain't working. And for some reason, last night, I sort of moseyed over there and I looked at it again. And I actually got down and see if I could see daylight between any two. I'm not kidding. If you could have seen me, you think this woman is nuts. But I did it! I was so excited I thought I was going to die. I took a picture. I sent a picture to my son. Look! I did it! One of the reasons I think I couldn't quit is because of the irony of quitting on this big jigsaw poster that said, "We can do it." And many the time I would look at it and think, well, I don't think I can. But I did. So I thought to myself, my God, I never knew that I had that ability to be that dogged, that tenacious. I really didn't know that. It's weird to find something out about yourself that you didn't know, and I'm proud that I did it. Even though almost the entire time I was doing it, I was muttering to myself, "You are wasting your time. What are you doing this mindless nonsense for? You're wasting your time." But I find it good for my head and my blood pressure. We do what we gotta do. Thomas writes, "Lynn, I celebrate you every day from this blue dot in the red ocean of Austin." Oh, God. You are a single bright ray of intelligence and compassion. Your Mar-a-Lago comment, bravo. Well, thanks, Tom. I thought it was a little, but I mean it. Wouldn't that be? Think of all the times those yahoos have said, "Well, that storm is God's vengeance for those homosexuals doing," and a direct hit on Mar-a-Lago by this dangerous idiot who's happily tweeting the biggest, as if he did something. Okay, yeah, that's right, Donald. You have the biggest hurricanes too. He's taken possession. He's proud. Chris, what are your thoughts on Hillary's new book? I have to admit, I never read these political after the fact books. I never do. I always feel that I lived through it. I really don't want to revisit it. I sure as hell don't blame her for writing it. You imagine? And I understand she settles some scores, but I suppose for a real political junkie, of which I am not, it'd be quite a read. Anyway, Chris goes on. This morning I heard she's now blaming Bernie for her losing the election. Yoy and double yoy, to quote the late Myron Cope. Well, Bernie didn't help her, that's for sure. And we do find out that Bernie's voters, enough of Bernie's voters refused not only to support her, but in fact voted for Donald Trump. And enough that you could make up those numbers of Pennsylvania, maybe Michigan, and Wisconsin. I don't know. So, I mean, if you do want to, I can see why she would blame Bernie. I did see one quote where she said, he undermined me. He, well past the time when he knew he couldn't win, he kept, it's true. I mean, I remember at the time thinking, all right, Bernie, now you're damaging the Democrats' chances because that's the person who's got the nomination. There's no way you get it. She's got it, and you're continuing to take her down, to harm her. And in that regard, too, I think Bernie's campaign and people were probably played quite a bit by the Russians. I do think that. Is that crazy to think? Of course not. They wanted Trump in. They didn't want Hillary. That's what they didn't want. So you got to believe that Bernie got some help as well from the Russians. It's amazing what happened. It is amazing. That election was, frankly. I mean, her campaign screwed up. And I hope she acknowledges their screw-ups. But look at what? Anyone who said, who cares, she's horrible, he's horrible, all you people who made that sort of lazy determination, look where we are. Imagine if Hillary Clinton had been president for these last 8 months. If you hate her guts, fine. But there is no way we would be in the horrific condition we are now. Yes, we'd still be a divided nation. But all of these rollbacks of everything that had been accomplished by Barack Obama. Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. Forever. Jefferson Beauregard Sessions in the Attorney General's office. Mike Pruitt over there at EPA. Betsy DeVos, education. So, I'm just saying, I do recall thinking that Bernie had gotten... Well, Bernie, like Trump, never thought he was going to take off like he did. No one thought. He came out of nowhere, too. And at some point, I think his ego was running away with it. It must be very hard to have, like, millions of people adoring you and telling you you are the answer. You are it. We are with you. We believe in you. It'd be hard to stop. It'd be hard to stop. I mean, he's human. But I do think, yeah, he didn't help. I mean, once you get beat, you should acknowledge it and back away. But see, he isn't a Democrat. So he didn't give a damn. He really, I don't think, cared. And in that regard, yeah, maybe he did help elect Trump. I'm pissing off a bunch of Bernie people, huh? I can't help it. I'm only saying... But I mean, I saw our local paper today, and my God, if Hillary Clinton were president, we wouldn't have what's going on in Squirrel Hill right now, where if you go like to one of the little parks with your kid, and the kid's sliding down a slide, the kid slides over this big swastika or sticker of Nazi stuff, because that's what's going on in Squirrel Hill now. That wouldn't be happening. And also something else, Vic Volchek of the ACLU, legal director of Pennsylvania's ACLU, has said in regard to the guy who questioned Toomey, who was arrested for disturbing a public meeting and I don't know what, threatening or whatever. ACLU is saying, I hope he gets in touch with us because we definitely want to support him, because there's no way you should get arrested for asking a question. Although it is true that the way he framed the question initially was threatening or scary to the senator and to others there. It was shocking because he said, I don't know if you heard the news. Can you acknowledge, or can you... Yeah, that your daughter, and he named her Gretchen, was kidnapped hours ago or something like that. And Toomey goes, huh? So for that 5 seconds or something where the guy says it, Toomey and everybody else gasp, then the questioner says, so you were scared, terrified, concerned for just a few seconds there, weren't you? But this is the reality for the parents of so many young people who are going to be rounded up by immigration police, kidnapped essentially from their schools, from their homes, from their churches, and so the guy who asked the question, I can see why he did it, very theatrical, and he has the right to do it. You could say it was inappropriate, but inappropriate ain't grounds for arrest. Cops never seem to know when to back away. It's amazing. Josh, hi Lynn. What do you do with your puzzles when you finish them? I have seen people somehow keep them together and hang them on the wall. No. I have taken a picture of a few. I break them up, I stick them back in a box, and then I give them to other people who do crossword puzzles. I mean, not crossword puzzles. I do crossword puzzles too. Jigsaw puzzles. I do have a growing number, but I don't know. I never did them as a kid. My family didn't do them. I don't know how I got into them once on a summer vacation in a vacation house that had puzzles. And I just, to while away the vacation time, I started one. And I did get hooked. I was really lousy at them because, as I said, I'm not good at spatial things and shapes. So I actually think it's probably pretty good for my brain. Josh also is wondering, is that an MXL 990 mic you're using? Do you think... Yeah. MXL 9... Yeah, it is. Because you have the same one. Isn't that cool? Yeah, I like it. I don't know where it came from, but yeah, that's what it is. So we have the same mic. You tell I don't have anything to talk about. Well, I don't. I mean, it's not that I don't have anything to talk about. It's that I don't think I have anything left to say. It's just, what else can I say? So you know what I'll do? I'll share another thought I had last night. After my jigsaw puzzle, we can do it triumph. As you know, I'm a Jeopardy fan. So I watch Jeopardy. And then after Jeopardy comes Wheel of Fortune, which I would always laugh at as a show. Say, what kind of idiot watches this show? Because it's just so stupid. I mean, it's so stupid. And I'm into words, filling out words. I do crossword puzzle. And Vanna White and that, what's his name I'm blanking on now? I mean, they drive me crazy. But it comes on after Jeopardy. And so often I'm like in the kitchen, I'm making my dinner, I've left the TV on, and I hear it. And over the years, I've left it on. And so now I've become one of those people. I don't watch it exactly. I might poke my head around the corner and see if I can figure out the... It's like one of those things you don't want to admit, right? It's okay, I tell myself. It's okay. It's okay. And I love it when... I love to see people win. That's fun. Anyway. After that, if I still have not turned it off, on some days, a show comes on that I have gotten to look forward to. And I'm going to admit this. All right, you ready? America's Got Talent. America's Got Talent. You know why I love it? Because you see people on it who are extraordinary at something. People you would never see otherwise. And it reminds me like of the Ed Sullivan Show. Remember the Ed Sullivan Show? Okay, if you're young, I'm sorry. We're going to leave you in the dust here. The Ed Sullivan Show, ladies and gentlemen, with a guy who was so not for television. I mean, Ed Sullivan, but he had the show. And he'd bring on various acts. He'd bring on comedians. He'd bring on musical guests, the Beatles famously, in their American debut. And you got ventriloquists, jugglers. Where do you see that now? Where do you see those kinds of acts? There are no variety shows that show you dog acts. And there's something delightful about seeing people who must spend inordinate amounts of time and energy working on these skills they have that are all for entertainment. Now, I'm all for entertainment, so I'm blown away by some. I don't get them all. But I got to tell you, last night as I was watching, because they're down to like the last group, so it's pretty much a bunch of pretty talented people, to say the least. And I was looking at them, and I was thinking, I wonder if, like all these scared white people in the country, if they get the same pleasure from this kind of a show, because so much of the talent, guys, ain't white. It's just not. In the little segment, when I had this thought as I was looking at it, in the space of time I had the thought, it was because I watched an extraordinary magician, black, a hysterical comedian. This guy is going to be up there. Black, a gospel choir that there's no way to listen or watch them without feeling better. Black, a number of other black singers, a guy who sings in the New York City subway. He closed the show, black. And I was thinking again, back in the day with Ed Sullivan in the 50s and early 60s and into the 60s. There were not all the choices. So if you wanted to sit down after a long day at work, after dinner, and watch TV, there were 3 possible stations, maybe 4 if there was a public station, right? ABC, NBC, CBS. And so all America watched the same stuff. And do you know that helps to unify a people? So I was thinking, America's got talent. And here is all that panoply of humanity and such skill that you would never get to see. So I think the show is fantastic. The thing I hate about it is, of course, it's so extraordinarily well produced that, they clearly maneuver so that people with really powerful narratives. So you've got sob stories left and right. So they're trying to, and I hate that. I absolutely hate that. This one's father's dying, that one, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. But the talent is exceptional. Ventriloquism. A little girl who's better than any I've ever seen. So, I'm just saying. You see what I did last night? I did my jigsaw puzzle, and I marveled at America's Got Talent. Yes, I did. Because more and more, I am just needing respite. And I suspect that all of us are doing it in our own way. Finding, I don't know, So I was watching that last night and thinking, oh, gosh, if we all just watched America's Got Talent together, wouldn't we help unify the country? And then, of course, I read the Wall Street Journal today. And the latest poll from the Wall Street Journal and NBC shows that America's divisions are growing. Yeah. We know they are. We barely speak to each other anymore. We don't even live in the same places. We keep to our own. And you know what else I was thinking? That this show has become, in the last 20 years, something that it hadn't really been before that. It's become a safe place. I make fun of safe places. A safe place where you can come and hear only things that you believe and not be bothered by somebody calling up and saying something upsetting. And that's what killed talk radio. We all went to we only wanted to hear what we already believed. This is dangerous. It is dangerous. It was better when we talked to each other. We used to be able to do that without screaming. It wasn't that long ago. I used to do it. And I, like you, I'd rather talk to people because I'm quick to anger when I'm talking to somebody who's just like, to me, they're out of their minds. But this is so dangerous, and we're seeing it now, right? So they do these polls, and they found that, my God, rural Americans, people without a 4-year college degree, those are Trump's voters. They are like, look at us as aliens, and it's our side that does produce the TV shows, mostly, and the movies. So when they talk about the elites of Hollywood, they're saying, I don't know, these aren't my people. I don't. And when asked, 3/4 of Democrats say that they were comfortable with the rather large societal changes that have come about in the last 20, 30 years. And that would be, I'm sure, sort of not only civil rights, women's rights, gay marriage, transsexuals, all that kind of stuff that would have been unthinkable half century ago. 3/4 of people who identify as Democrats say it's okay, it's good, it's actually good. And less than a third, some 20% of Republicans say the same thing. So you've got almost 80% of Republicans saying they look at those societal changes that we champion and they feel like, what the hell's happening? These are huge differences. And somehow it seems like there is nothing that pulls us together anymore. There's nothing. That's why I want the Ed Sullivan Show back. I am sorry. It could be America's Got Talent, or AGT, as those of us in the know say. Could be the answer. It said that it didn't used to be this way. And they say that, for instance, Dwight Eisenhower, back to the 50s, when 8 months into his presidency, 8 months into Trump's, 8 months into his presidency, a majority of Democrats said they approved of what he was doing. Can you imagine? They didn't vote for him, but they looked and said, okay. And that pretty much held true, that the other side would give people the benefit of the doubt and would look on. They didn't hate the person in the White House. Do you know where it fell below 40% of the opposite party actually saying, yeah, they're doing okay? Bill Clinton. So when Bill Clinton was president, fewer than 20% of Republicans, after he'd been in for 8 months, said he's doing a good job. Well, it did look like a train wreck there for a while. And then Barack Obama. 8 months into Barack Obama's first year in office. Do you know how many Republicans said that they supported his presidency? They understood he was doing okay. 16%. That's when he was saving the economy, right? I don't know. I got no answers. I'm just an observer. I can... Okay, let me just finish up with your emails, and because I can see we're getting there. Roger says, since the ascension of President Crazy Pants, I just don't find the same joy watching Colbert, Maher, or Samantha Bee. I don't either. I'm not able to watch. They're really good at what they do, and they're spot on with their jokes. I guess that's my problem. Reality has become a joke. For comedic relief, I might revert to listening to stupid adolescent dick jokes. Yeah, go back to the Three Stooges. Hillary, he says, I can't help but think her book will be just be looked at as whining. And that may be accurate. Nah, she's got reason. Come on. You try carrying to your grave that you lost. Because you were the opposition, Donald Trump became the president of the United States and destroyed the country. That's a lot to carry. And I don't blame her for trying to get her perspective and point of view out. But she'll be savage no matter what she does. That we know. Chuck writes, Lynn, my wife and I have never watched America's Got Talent, but this summer, for some reason, we got hooked. Although there is certainly many talented acts remaining, I think America votes as much for their stories. Yeah, that's too bad, as they do for the talent. There are some sad stories there. The judges, by the way, I think are overly dramatic at times, yeah. But I got to tell you, from a television production point of view, it is beautifully produced. It is brilliant. And don't tell me Tyra Banks ain't fantastic at her MC job. She really is. She's something. That's a talented lady. NP writes, the Decades channel, it's Comcast channel 195 or Fios 483, are now showing reruns of the Ed Sullivan Show. Oh my God. Starting Monday, September 4th, Decades viewers will be able to experience those electrifying moments again with the best of the Ed Sullivan Show. Weekdays at noon, 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. Okay, so that's I never even knew there was such a channel, the Decades channel. I'm Comcast, that's 195. Fios 483. If you want. That was not a well-produced show, but that was in the early days of TV. It was just very sort of direct. Milton writes, I have heard and watched so many autopsies of the 2016 election. While all mentioned different aspects that caused Hillary's folly, from Bernie's half-hearted endorsement to Russian meddling to poor participation from black males. We're going to blame them? They got enough trouble. I contend that Hillary lost the election on the Friday night before the vote on November 8th. If you recall, she ended her campaign with a huge rally in Philadelphia where both of the Obamas spoke, and the festivities ended with performances by Bruce Springsteen, Katy Perry, Bon Jovi, Beyonce, and Jay-Z, who comprised the final act with all of their dancers, all those black folk who make up their entourages. I can remember turning to my girlfriend and saying, "Damn, baby, Hillary just lost the election." I'm a black man, and that's almost too many colored folk for even me. God help us. There was one shot where it looked like Hillary was running for president of Zambia. Oh, God, Milton, this is a riot. She was the only white person on the entire stage. Well, but when we're talking about talent, a lot of black talent. Oh, that's funny. And you were sensitive to it because you're a black man. Sure. I wish this wasn't a big deal and would be viewed as simply Americans showing their support for the candidate of their choosing. But I'm sure that scene, that singular 12-minute performance carried on all three major networks and all cable news, intimidated just enough white people to tip the election in Trump's favor. I've never heard anyone else say it, and certainly I can't prove it, but I'll always believe that concert, that final act, cost her the election. Well, I don't know if you're right, Milton, but that's brilliant. It didn't help. It looked like she was running for president of Zambia. All right, you win the best email of the week by far. I thank you very much. It's interesting and well done. Well done. Okie doke, guys. I'm well done too, and hope to see you tomorrow. Hang in there.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.